Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Breakfast Burrito. It's DJ Yoakley, and on the other side is Thomas Pease. Tommy, how we doing today, brother?
Good, sir. How you doing today?
Oh, I am loving life. 33 years old. 33. I'm 33.
Today?
Well, yesterday, but I'm officially 33. I've had 24 hours to develop and to understand it and kind of bring it all in. But man, I am 33, and everywhere I go now, 33, I think is like one of those ages. It's you're over 32, so people don't look at you as quite the kid anymore. And I guess that could have been 21, but reality says that that 33, I'm embracing it. I loved it. I love 31. It's my favorite number in the world. It's my personal jersey number. I have it everywhere. 32 was kind of one of those years. I mean, it was a great year. Don't get me wrong. It was a great year. But 33, man, I'm embracing it. I'm loving it. I'm loving these odd years.
You're growing up on us, man.
Right before your very eyes.
My goodness. You look older today, too. That's weird. Just one day older than you were yesterday, but 1 year, actually.
I didn't shave, so that probably makes me look a little bit
older. That's it.
If I lose the hat, I'll look about 10 years older, so don't make me do that.
You got no hair under that hat?
No, I don't. See, look, I got to wear a hat because there's so much shine under there. There's so much shine. It's like Uncle Phil on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I don't want to be giving anybody a shine.
Maybe one day I'll not wear the hat and I'll put my man bun in for you.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's get to the burrito, the opening statement, man. Hey, there was a game going on in East Liverpool last night. How did it go?
Not too good. Potters dropped a home game there to the Brook Bruins of West Virginia. 78-60 was the final score. Potters down 17 at half after basically a volleyball line bank three-pointer to end the first half by Brook, put them down by 17. They did battle back in the third quarter, cut it to 2 at one point, but the hot shooting Brook Bruins, who were absolutely on fire from beyond the 3-point line last night, just couldn't miss, and the Potters fall to Brook 78-60 last night at home, and then they get no rest because tonight they're back home against a Harrison Central team who they played Saturday in the Buckeye 8 tournament, and they ended up losing that game by, I think, 9. But it was a great one of the best games all year. I wasn't on the call, but Rob and Anson had the call. They said it was one of the best games all year. Fast paced, two good teams that like to get out in space. Potters once again just couldn't get it under 4 or 5 points the entire game. So tonight, they'll get another shot at Harrison Central. So the young Potters, they continue to grow. You see a lot of good things out of them moving forward. I talked about last night on the Facebook Live feed that, Brendan O'Hara, who's a sophomore, you could just see his maturity and his game maturity, grow every single day that they play. And it's going to be they're young. I talk to you about this all the time. They start, 4 sophomores and a junior. So, next year, as long as these kids, have pride in their game, maybe get into the weight room in the off season, do a little transformation because, they are sophomores. So their body's still young. But if they put the work in, we could see a couple special years out of Potter basketball moving forward. But it's all in the kids. So hopefully they are willing to put the work in because they have the youth and they have the experience now. Now it's just becoming the elite players that they possibly can, but it's all in putting the work in. Nothing's handed to you in today's world. You know that.
I absolutely do. And we talk about the Potters all the time. One of the things that kind of intrigues me, and I don't know the answer to this question, but you probably certainly do. Are these basketball players, are they multi-sport athletes, or are they just strictly out for basketball?
No, there's a lot of strictly basketball players on that team. Nick Woodyard, he's a sophomore. He played football last year. He had some injury issues at the end of the year, but defensive back, wide receiver. And then Jalen Moman, who's actually found his way into the starting lineup. He's a big kid, and he was the tailback this year for the Potters, so he's on there. Lane Copras, he had some injury issues, but he was out for the basketball team. So, and then Peyton Reed was the quarterback for the Potters. He was out last night with the flu, but he also is on the basketball team. But the rest of those guys in your core of that team, which is Roach, Jackson, and O'Hara, all three of those guys do not play multiple sports. I'm pretty sure they all play basketball, and that's it. I talk about it all the time with people about, when we were in school, we played all the sports, you know what I mean? And I think you see, kids getting away from that today. And, some of your best athletes, should be multiple sport athletes in high school, but, they're singling in on one sport. And, sometimes that actually hurts your athletics, at the high school level. So, yeah, three or four football players on that team, and then the rest basketball guys and some soccer players on there as well. But yeah,
maybe that's something we'll talk about tomorrow as one of our key features in our local time. Are there advantages to playing just one sport year round, or is it in the student's best interest, or there's more interest in playing multiple sports? I know there's several different takes on several different. Depending on where you're from, what's popular, the scholarship situation, things like that. So that might be something to dig into. Maybe we can get a special guest in to talk about it. I'd love to get Coach Ludwig on the show at some point and have him discuss kind of what his thoughts are, and maybe some other coaches from different sports. I'm sure there's many different opinions out there, and we'd love to get some of them. So if you or someone want to give their opinion on that, let's make it a point to talk about that tomorrow. Let's put a pin in it. So
okay.
we'll talk about multi-sports versus just one sport, and we'll make it a huge part of the show tomorrow. So make sure you chime in here on the Breakfast Burrito. That'll be the main ingredient in tomorrow's show. Anything else from Potterville, USA happened last night?
No, we were on Facebook Live, as you know, and we had the Kinsey Gymnastics team there at halftime performing on Facebook Live, and the Potter Fieldhouse had a good crowd last night. And I think that the gymnastics show, all those parents and family members that came in to watch that, made it for a good environment, for a good game, really, all the way until the late fourth quarter when Brooke pulled away. But no, it's quiet down here. It's snowing. It's cold. I'm miserable. I'm tired of it. You know what I mean? It didn't bother me when I was younger. And I'm not saying I'm old, 36, but
Jesus, you're old.
I know. I feel it. But yeah, I'm tired of this weather, man. Where's the sunshine? Where's the warm weather? Let's move.
We're not moving, man. We are embedded here in Northeast Ohio, and we got to embrace it. So
I am. I'm an Ohioan for life.
All right.
I gotta accept it. I can dream, right? I mean, I can dream.
You can dream. You know what? You can dream, Thomas. You can dream, my friend. Hey, let's get to some local scores last night from the area. The Lady Clippers, come out on top 49-44 over the McDonald Blue Devils. The Lisbon Blue Devils, the ladies on a roll right now, 54-47 over Mineral Ridge. We had the Salem Quakers over the Springfield Tigers, 63-36, the inverted score, my favorite. And then one of the games that we had covered, not online, not the play-by-play and color commentary, but we did have Anthony Hartwig, who we had on the show Friday, cover for like the beat report. The Ursuline Fighting Irish, the ladies beat South Range 59-53, and it was a real tough loss for, obviously, South Range. I believe I'm pulling the story up right now. Daishanette Harris for Ursuline had 30 points, and that's a huge feat right there. Another player, Anya Kurd, added 23 for Ursuline, 11 rebounds, and a big win for Ursuline. They go to, I believe, 11-8 overall, and I believe this is the third loss of this season for South Range, and the team kind of split the series 1-1 here. But they were on Ursuline's home court. There was a few injuries that happened. I was told that their superstar freshman, Bree Kohler, their point guard, suffered a little bit of a head injury. TBD about that. Obviously, we're not doctors. We don't want to speculate if it was a concussion or if it wasn't a concussion. We have no idea. That's gonna be our statement. But I was told on her birthday, on Brie Kohler's birthday, she goes down with an injury, and it was just a tough night for the Raiders all around. So hopefully they can bounce back as we head towards the tournament. And the brackets have been announced. You can check that out. Anthony Hartwig will have a story on bracketology of the girls' setup, and a few teams you want to keep an eye on as we head into it, as we give you a couple more scores. So apologize. We'll get to that in just a second. Latonia Bears fall to the Crestview Rebels, 57-44. The Rebels now, I think, 13-4 on the season. So Crestview quietly having a really, really successful season over there with Coach Blatch and his troops. You said last night, actually Toronto got a big victory over the Potters last night. So it was a bad night all around for the Potters, 60-46. They beat the Red Knights, take the win over East Liverpool. What else do we have here? I think that's about it, my friend. All the rest of them are for tonight. We will have the Columbiana Southern Local game tonight on YSN. We will also have Latonia versus Crestview. And you don't have a game tonight, correct? You're just tomorrow.
We do tonight. Oh. Harrison Central comes back to the Fieldhouse off their Buckeye 8 win on Saturday. They come back again today, and Potters look to rebound.
You literally just said that, didn't you?
I did.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
For some reason, it was in my head that it was Wednesday.
If you don't want to listen when I speak, it's fine. I understand.
Dude, you lost me at man bun. I'm not gonna lie to you. You lost me.
I confused you.
Yeah, I was so.
Quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
Columbiana is Division 3 or 4. Do you know that? I'm trying to look up their bracket right now.
They're in the same one as South Range, and I believe that's 4. I believe it's 4, but I could be wrong. I haven't had a chance to look at the bracket yet. Anthony's the guy that's going to be our expert on that. I'll have a chance later today when we talk about it, and hopefully his story goes live. But I know that South Range, Columbiana,
Lisbon,
I think they're all in the same bracket, which is going to be interesting because that is going to be a tough one. And I think, Salem's in the same bracket as well. Salem drew the 2 seed, South Range drew the 1 seed, and I think Columbiana drew 3, if I'm not mistaken. So it's going to be interesting to see. Those are the 3 main teams that people are keeping their eye on. But like I said, Crestview very quietly having a really, really good season at 13-4. So keep your eye on that one, because I really do believe they could really make some upsets here as we head towards the tourney.
We like that. We like upsets, right? Especially if they're YSN schools.
Yeah, as long as they're not YSN schools getting upset, I'm all for them. I love being able to announce those. There's nothing more fun than the upset, right? The David versus Goliaths going in. So it'll be interesting to see how things shake out. South Range, definitely a team to be a force to be reckoned with, but they are getting bit pretty hard right now by the injury bug. But luckily, nothing's been real serious for the Raiders and Coach Matizzi's team. But Columbiana, another team that I would have liked to go out and see last night and see them in person for the first time all year. And they obviously handled their business once again. They continue to just be that team, or be one of those teams that are going to be really tough to beat. But you know what they say, bud? You know what they say, in a 1-game playoff, anything can happen. And that's why tournaments are so fun.
That's why they play the game, right?
It's why they play the game. We have no paper champions in Northeast Ohio.
Division 4 girls, Mineral Ridge District, is teams that are familiar to us: Latonia, Southern Local, Lisbon, Lowville, Wellsville, Western Reserve, McDonald, Jackson, Milton. So those are that's the Mineral Ridge District. So the Lisbon Columbiana rivalry that we've seen over the past couple years don't look like it's going to be a playoff matchup unless both teams would go deep into the playoffs. Wow, 2/21 is when this all kicks off. So we're only a few weeks away.
And then I was having a conversation yesterday with someone here from my hometown in East Palestine, and they're going to have. I think what he's trying to explain to me was he had 2 weeks, 3 weeks almost of just practice, no games, no anything on the schedule. So that's going to be interesting. Can these teams that don't have any late season games or makeup games or anything, are they going to be affected come tournament time because they haven't had any different colored jerseys to play for 20 days?
It's going to be. I mean, it's going to be tough. You lose your. I don't know. You're in the groove by this point. I know we had some cancellations with the weather, but I mean, you think a lot of teams are going to be hitting their stride, and that's a long layoff for a lot of these teams. But for some, it might be a good thing, right? Get back to practice, maybe put in some new sets. A lot of time to gather film on your opponent for your sectional game, and hopefully, they could turn it around. Whoever would be with the layoff, but yeah. I love playoff basketball in high school. It's awesome. Girls or boys, it doesn't matter.
So here's a question for you. You're a baseball coach and obviously one that's, played baseball. That's a sport, again, in a spring season that there's a lot of, cancellations, and you have to be kind of agile with your schedule. When you're in this situation, if you're a head coach on a basketball team right now and you're in this situation, you don't have any games scheduled. Is it a possibility to get some scrimmages or something along those lines? Does that benefit your team?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I'm not sure what the OHSAA rules and regulations are about, scrimmages in season. I'm sure there's something in place, but yeah, I mean, for me, it would be, if I'm a basketball coach, I mean, if we got a 15 day layoff, I mean, it's all about repetition. Let's get a lot of shots up. Let's work on foul shooting. Let's maybe go through some film and work on the little things that maybe are preventing us from winning games. Just go back to the basics of basketball and get your shots in, and keep working and hope that the layoff, the non-game layoff, doesn't affect you. But yeah, I mean, if scrimmages were allowed, you would think that you'd want to get something going. 15 days. Is a long time. I say that, but here we are. The Potter boys, they had a 13-day layoff and a 14-day layoff already between December and January with this weather. So it makes it tough, but good coaches will overcome that.
So if you're in a position where you can, I mean, I guess the number one thing would be injuries. You don't want somebody getting injured in a game that doesn't matter and obviously doesn't sell tickets and doesn't help the school at all. Are there drawbacks to having scrimmages and bringing a team in at the end of the season to try to get some work put in?
Yeah, I mean, there could be, like you said, the number one thing would be injuries. You bring a team into scrimmage, you got a 15-day layoff, and you say your star player goes down. Was that scrimmage worth it? You'd have to, those are chances you got to take. That's that's playing a lot of what if, but yeah, I mean, you got to keep the kids fresh, and mainly the legs, game shape, keep the legs fresh, and keep playing, because with like any sport, the more you practice your craft, the better player or better team you'll be. So
that's to wrap up our local coverage. Make sure you keep your eyes open for the bracketology report brought up by Anthony Hartwig. That's going to be something I'm looking forward to. I know there's a lot of people that have a ton of respect, and as well as they should, for Mr. Hartwig and his reports, especially in the girls realm. So I'm looking forward to that. Make sure you keep your eyes peeled on ysnlive.com for that. Should be coming up in either the next day or two, hopefully ASAP. So I'll talk to him today. Hopefully he'll have that posted. I'm hoping in the next 48 hours, because we really want to get ahead of this and make sure everybody has their eyes firmly set on this tournament coming up here in 15 days. So it's going to be a good one. We're looking forward to it. A lot of YSN teams involved, and a lot of them with some home court advantage for the first round or two. So exciting stuff.
Be nice if we put maybe some brackets up on the website, live bracketology.
Yeah, why not?
Follow these teams. Yeah, we'll fill in the brackets and see who goes.
That's why you're
goes
the brains,
far,
my friend. That's why you're the brains.
Yeah,
we'll get that up. We'll talk with our developmental department and see if we can get those up soon, and everybody can kind of look at the brackets, take it in. I believe ohsaa.org right now has them up if you want to take a look at that. I will be doing it following the show, and we will have some brackets up probably by the end of the day, if nothing else. So
brackets.my.ohsaa.org.
Look at this guy. Look at this guy calling out links.
Trying.
I'm calling you Zelda because you got so many links.
I loved Zelda when I was a kid.
Of course you did. I was more of a Tecmo Super Bowl guy. I don't know.
Well, who wasn't?
Well, that's true. That's true.
I still have an original Nintendo.
No, you don't.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Sidebar. Best game you ever had on Nintendo. And Tecmo Super Bowl does not count.
For me, my favorite Nintendo original NES game is Super Mario Brothers 3. Loved it.
Is that the one with the squirrel tail on the back?
Yep. You can get the P-Wing and fly, and yep, that's it. Greatest Mario Brothers of all time.
We didn't have any of that money down in 7017 By Road. We grew up kind of on the short end of the stick, but my parents did the best they could, so we didn't end up with like Super Mario or anything like that. We ended up with a game called Dizzy, and I don't know if you're familiar with Dizzy, but Dizzy was an egg, and he just kind of scrambled all over, no pun intended, all over the screen. And I don't think I ever finished that game, but I remember my sister and I, she was 3 years younger than me, and we just kind of looked at each other. We got this game. We're like, what in the blue blazes is Dizzy? So we we'll look it up. If you never played Dizzy, look it up on Google, and you will see the pain of a 6-year-old playing Nintendo, and all his buddies have Mario, which was incredible to me. Dizzy was my childhood, man. When I hear Dizzy, it's all about the Nintendo, and it certainly wasn't the best game of all time. But I snuck away to my buddy's house, Pat Gray, and I always played Tecmo Super Bowl with he and his brothers. So, but yeah, Dizzy, man, look up Dizzy. Trust me.
I will. I'll check it out.
You're gonna feel the pain, and maybe even on YouTube they have some gameplay. That would be. I might do that myself after the show. But yeah, dude, it was incredible. But Super Mario Brothers 3, I do remember playing that game later. And I did love it. I love the one that he had. He could fly. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was definitely my favorite for sure.
All right, dude. Regional coverage. We talked about Pittsburgh. We talked about Cleveland all the time. Those are the major markets here in our region. And with the big game just coming to a finale, coming to a close, obviously Sunday night, an unbelievable game. The Eagles take it and are Super Bowl champs. Do you think, and Minnesota hosted this year, do you think there's a realm of possibility that Pittsburgh or Cleveland could possibly host the big game?
Never happen. Never. Minnesota's indoors, first of all, right?
Right.
And then we did have one outside Super Bowl in the cold weather in New York, right?
Correct.
So they're just, there's no indoor stadium in Pittsburgh or Cleveland, and they're not going to risk another outdoor Super Bowl that's not in a giant market like New York. So I would say it's never going to happen, ever.
I would roll the dice, and the only reason I'm saying that it will happen or it could happen is the fact that the Steelers continue to put money into their facility and put seats into their facility so they can bring 70,000 people in to Pittsburgh and seat that. And that's what the Super Bowl and I guess the NFL is looking for is, number one, do you have enough tickets and seats that people can sit and the NFL could make significant money? Number two, do you have enough hotel rooms to accommodate? And the greater Pittsburgh area does because
it does.
I mean, the greater Pittsburgh area extends all the way technically
to where we're at,
to where we are. Yeah.
Right.
So really, it boils down to that, and I think that Pittsburgh, the Rooneys, the mayor. I mean, as top to bottom, I think Pittsburgh knows something that we don't, and I think that the NFL will take a shot. I think they have to take a shot. I think we talked about this the other day. They've got to go to cities where there's passionate fan bases because You go to these. I mean, Minnesota was fantastic. I thought it was a great crowd all week long. If you watched any of the shows, it was a very excited crowd because what other case scenario does Minnesota ever get, featured? I mean, they're not going to, I don't think they'll ever get WrestleMania, but I could be wrong. Those are the two mainstays in sports and sports entertainment is you have the Super Bowl and you have WrestleMania. Can you get either one? So I think that Roger Goodell and I think the entire NFL executive have to take a look at, hey, even if Pittsburgh can't, I mean, whether they get to the Super Bowl or not, can they host the big game? I absolutely think they can. I think it would be exciting. I think that it'd be a shot in the arm naturally for the area here. And I think people would come to Pittsburgh because there's so much to do. Pittsburgh's different in so many ways. Yes, it's cold, but it's going to be cold regardless. In Minnesota, it was cold. People
real cold.
They were doing like sled rides or something. I saw on a couple of the channels. So I mean, it's interesting, but the players are used to playing in cold, and I understand the NFL wants to make it a legitimate experience, but football is supposed to be played in the cold. Why, if you're not playing in the cold, why the heck are you playing? I mean, it's not a fun summer sport. It's one of those. It's a game that's meant to be played in the snow, in the rain. Like, that's the stuff. That's football, man. I don't get it that these guys want to play. Like, I mean, if you want to play hot weather, go play in the Honolulu, play in the Pro Bowl. That's my take. But I could be way off base. But I think Pittsburgh and Cleveland could potentially host the big game. But you say no.
Well, I don't see it. I don't see it happening. Just honestly because of the cold weather and not being, we're not a huge market like a New York or an LA or even a Chicago. But it does set up nice for a Super Bowl in Pittsburgh. I mean, the North Shore is just absolutely flat as can be. It's perfect down there for, all the extra events and things that they put up. I mean, they bring in, portable buildings for the Super Bowl and, there's all kinds of things to do, the NFL experience. And so the area itself, I mean, is perfect to set up for the Super Bowl. And I guess if they're going to go away from any one of the big markets and they're going to go to a city where, it's cold and they're going to host a Super Bowl. I mean, what better place to do it than Pittsburgh? Because, it doesn't matter where you go or where you travel, any major city, maybe even all over the world, you'll see Steeler bars everywhere. Now, it's not saying that Steelers would be in their own Super Bowl at their own field, but there's a huge following for football in Pittsburgh. It's the number one for sure in that city, thanks to the run in the 70s and early 80s. It's special. And so yeah, if any cold city at this time of year outside of your major markets are gonna be called upon to host a Super Bowl, I mean it could be Pittsburgh. Now Cleveland's not happening. So
why do you say that Cleveland's not happening?
Because it's Cleveland.
What is that? I guess I understand it as you and I are on the same page. But for our viewers out there, what does that mean? Because it's Cleveland.
I don't know. It just doesn't have it has, I don't know. For me personally, it just doesn't have anything, special about the city of Cleveland. I mean, it's Cleveland. Super Bowl in Cleveland?
Here we go. Let me ask you this question. If not in Cleveland, do you think that a venue like Columbus, the Horseshoe, could host a Super Bowl?
No, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be it's got the seating, it's got the capacity, it's got everything you're looking for. It's a great facility. I understand that the NFL wants to, kind of give it back to its teams and its owners and make sure that obviously the cities that put so much on the line get the ultimate payday. But why not put it in Columbus, in the shoe or the big house up in Michigan? I mean, think about the draw for that. I mean, the NHL is doing it. The NHL has no qualms whatsoever about putting their product in college stadiums or in major league stadiums. Why would the NFL not take advantage of this?
I I think it's a great idea, but the like you actually mentioned it just a second ago. The owners will never let that happen, ever.
Even if they
somebody
generate
wants
the revenue.
Yeah, but are they going to generate the revenue? What's the university's going to say about that? They're going to want to cut too. It's going to cut into somebody's money, and no matter what anybody says, the NFL is a business, and a lot of businessmen in all sports, all professional sports. So yeah, it would be a great idea. That's probably something to just in the near future not going to happen, especially with all the control that the owners have over over things like that.
So I'm taking a look right now at a map of the United States with the teams in the NFL around it, and taking a look around essentially Pittsburgh, Cleveland. The closest outside of that to us from the regional standpoint would be Detroit. And Detroit's hosted the Super Bowl. They hosted, I know, Super Bowl 40, the famous one with Jerome Bettis going home. I mean, is that if a city like Detroit can host, and no, I don't want to put any shots at Detroit, but man alive, Detroit is a city that is really in bad shape. Why can't it doesn't make sense that just because they're in a dome or
that would have been my argument. They're indoors.
It's to me, that's not a good enough argument. It's just not, because people are still going to show up for that game. It's a Super Bowl. It's not. I mean, whether it's right now, I think it's 14 degrees outside. I think people still will show up. But I could be wrong. I could be absolutely wrong, because you know what? I remember this year even people not showing up for the Jacksonville game because it was too cold. So are we facing here in America a different atmosphere, a different type of fan, because there's so many things available to them, such as TV, the internet, Twitter. I mean, you name it. There's so many ways to download information. Does that present a problem in selling tickets for a cold weather game?
Well, I mean, like you said, we've seen that. We've seen that in the Jacksonville game in Pittsburgh. But it comes back to what we talked about the other day. I mean, with how easy it is to obtain information, to follow games, even if you're not watching it on TV, with the busy lives of American families and all the responsibilities that go on and in the daily activities of life, I just feel that it's a lot easier and it's a lot more convenient to follow it while not sitting in the stadium. And if it's colder outside, it makes it even a lot more easier not to want to go to a live game. I mean, it's been, oh my gosh, it's probably been 6, 7, 8 years since I've been to an NFL football game. And a lot of it has to do with the cold. I don't want to go and sit there and be cold when I can sit in a climate controlled room. It's nice 70 degrees and watch it on, a 70-inch high definition TV and get replays and play by play and commentary, or it just, and I do feel that it affects ticket sales, but they're still not having any trouble filling stadiums, except for the few expansion teams that we had this year in the NFL, or teams that went to another market. They seem to have trouble filling those stadiums up with fans because they're not diehard fans. They're first year in that city, and it's going to take time to grow the fan base in the local area. But yeah, I mean, it's technology and the quality of what we get when we watch any live sport on TV is definitely a reason that you see, live crowds or ticket sales, lower than what they probably have been, in the past. No, even NBA, if you watch NBA games on ESPN, they have NBA games on 2-3 nights a week. And sometimes you can see in Oklahoma City or Toronto or even New Orleans, you see these stadiums or these arenas that are, there's not a lot of people there, and got to have people in the seats. So some places do a lot of gimmicks to get people there, being the Pirates, one of them.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, we're going to talk about that.
I know.
We are going to talk about that in it's very much. Alexa just went off. That was kind of weird. I don't know if I said Alexa, but hey, yeah. I mean, I'm with you, man. Is it worth it to go and freeze your butt off and stand 12 deep to go to the bathroom? To me, it's not. Especially with you have the development of people like myself with man caves, and you can enjoy everything from the comfort of your own television, be with your family, and not pay a gazillion dollars for ticket prices for really a product that, especially if you're talking about teams like the Pirates, the Browns, et cetera, that don't put their money back into their product. They don't. I think they appreciate the fans, but only because they're lining the owners' wallets. So we'll get into that a little bit later in much more detail. But let's put a bow on this one. So you don't think that Pittsburgh, Cleveland, anywhere in the region outside of Detroit or Indianapolis here regionally is going to get a Super Bowl?
Not in the near future. I don't see it happening. I could be wrong.
Do you see it in the next 5 years?
No.
Do you see it in the next 10 years?
Maybe.
15, you're going to be a yes, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I got a long time to be right, so I can hang on to the hope until that 15th year. But I do agree with you though. Like Pittsburgh it sets up, the Super Bowl in the Steel City, or the big game in the Steel City would be exciting. I would probably want to go, even if it was $1,200 or $1,300 or $2,000 a ticket. Especially, could you imagine if the Steelers made the Super Bowl when it was in Pittsburgh? It would be unreal. Well, it would be unreal.
The Vikings had a chance. The Vikings had a chance to make that come true, and obviously they came up short against the eventual world champions. But man, yeah, it would be unreal. It'd be unbelievable. And I think terrible
towels everywhere. It would just be insane. It would be the greatest crowd in Super Bowl history. I promise you that it would be. So NFL, if you're listening to the YSN Breakfast Burrito, if you want a magical crowd at a Super Bowl, put it in Pittsburgh.
Bring it on home. Bring it on home. I mean, the Steelers are 6-time champs. I don't see why they shouldn't be able to host a Super Bowl. They are the greatest franchise in that era. So in the last 52 years. So why not give them a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge? And hey, Pittsburgh deserves it because what they've done and the success they've had over the last 52 years. So
how about this? You ready?
I'm ready.
How about the NFL adopt a policy that if your team wins the Super Bowl, the following year, your city gets to host it?
Man, I think did we dabble on this a few weeks ago or last week? So New England would host how many?
A lot.
Yeah, and I think it's cool. But the more I got to think about it, I'm kind of going against myself here because I thought I loved the idea at first. But the more I got to think about it, can you imagine Philadelphia? Oh my God! Can you imagine a Super Bowl in Philadelphia?
You don't like that, huh?
No. Is there even a Philadelphia left? If you're in Philadelphia, we are praying for you right now. We are absolutely praying for you. Our YSN correspondent, one of the mainstays here at Your Sports Network, Greg Brown, said it best. He said, congratulations to Philadelphia. Also, pray for Philadelphia. So I was
burn it down.
That. Dude, have you seen some of those videos?
Oh, it's crazy. These people are nuts. They
were burning the city down at halftime.
That's crazy. Oh, I know.
So it'll be interesting. My wife Sarah has family in Philly. I sent some jokes out yesterday saying, if you need room and board, let us know. We'll take care of you because we just want to know you're safe. We want to know you're safe. So let's put a bow. I mean, that's a bow on that one, man. It's a wrap on that. I think that they will. The Steelers or the Browns or I guess not Philadelphia, Pittsburgh or Cleveland will host a big game here in the near future. Next 5 to 7 years, I would say that's going to come out, especially with the ratings being down. I think they got to take advantage of where their bread is buttered, and I think that their bread is really, really nice here in in our region. So I'm anticipating that you will see a big game here in the area. Moving along, man. Hey, The big dance is coming, my friend. It's the most wonderful time of the year. We're about a month away in some change. And last night, I didn't get to watch it, but I was able to get the recaps and watch it on SportsCenter this morning. West Virginia, good old West Virginia, by God, West Virginia, with a big win on the road against Oklahoma. Oklahoma ranked 17, West Virginia, WVU, ranked 19. And they go into Boomer Sooner country and walk out with a 75-73 victory, able to hold on at the end because Oklahoma brought it in the second half, 33 points, and made it a really, really close game. But Lamont West scoring 17 for the Mountaineers, and the Mountaineers surviving a 32-point night from Trae Young. And if you haven't had a chance to check out Trae Young, he's a stud. He's an absolute stud. They're talking about him in the NBA. And the Sooners, no doubt, will make the big dance. But man, West Virginia, WVU going in and playing spoiler on the road. How about this WVU team? You see them? Can they dance in the big dance?
Yeah, I mean, Huggins is probably one of the top 5 coaches in the country. Big, like you said, big win last night on the road at Oklahoma. Trae Young. I followed him all year. He's a freshman and he's special. Last night, like you said, 32 points. But they fell behind early in the first half. West Virginia was up at 10 at halftime, and Oklahoma outscored West Virginia in the second half, 33-25. But it just wasn't enough. Fell 2 points short. And hats off to Bob Huggins and the West Virginia Mountaineers. That's a big win against Oklahoma. And, Trae Young 1 assist last night. So maybe if he dished the ball off a little more, they might have come away with the W. But the 17th ranked Oklahoma Sooners fall to the 19th ranked West Virginia Mountaineers. Both teams got what it takes to make a run in March Madness. I'm not sure if that's copyrighted, but it'll be an exciting March, early April for all college basketball fans, because there's a lot of good basketball in the NCAA right now, and there's probably about 20 teams that could win that tournament right now, and it'll make for an exciting time. It's one of my favorite sports times of the year. So.
No, I mean, everything that's surrounded it. You have spring training, you have March Madness. Everybody's happier usually because spring is either there or it's right around the corner. The snow is melting. But when I look at this, I mean, this game last night, it is small in comparison, but I guess kind of a big deal, because that puts the Mountaineers only a half game back in the Big 12 conference standings behind Texas Tech and Kansas, who are both sitting at 7-3. So if they can make a move here, the Mountaineers have a chance down the stretch, and certainly are not out of it, because when the Big 12 tournament happens, they can shake some things up here. Because you look at the Big 12, I mean, you have Iowa State, Baylor, Oklahoma State, TCU, Texas, Kansas State, Oklahoma, WVU, Kansas, and Texas Tech. I mean, Kansas alone is obviously rich in tradition and history, especially in basketball. Texas Tech is kind of a surprise. They're kind of a surprise out there. I mean, we haven't heard them in a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see if our boys from good old, by God, West Virginia can make a run, because Pitt's certainly not doing themselves any favors here on the regional side, and Ohio State's still in it. I mean, they're still able to get some signature wins here, but can they make a run down the stretch? Do you see any of the other regional teams being able to put something together?
Well, Ohio State, I mean, they signature win against Michigan State a few weeks back is definitely going to help the Buckeyes to make a bid for the big tournament. How they perform in the Big Ten tournament will also be a telltale to whether they make a run at the tournament. There's just it's top heavy right now. I mean, Villanova's 22-1, Virginia 22-1, Purdue 23-2, Michigan State 22-3, Xavier 21-3, Cincinnati 21-2, Auburn 21-2. I mean, a lot of 2 and 3 lost teams at the top of the top 25. So I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you don't see that, very.
It's nutty, man. It's nutty. It's this time of year that really makes it's exciting. A lot of people like myself, a very casual college basketball fan, they'll have no idea, and they'll do all their brushing up here in the next few weeks, especially what Selection Sunday is revealed. But man, if you can take a look at some college basketball, it's one of those years, and I think you were getting at it. It's one of those years that anybody's got a chance, and that makes for the most exciting brand of sports. So hopefully this is what it's all about, man. If West Virginia, ranked at number 19, can make a run at this, how exciting! You want to talk about some places burning down. Imagine if West Virginia is able to capture the college basketball NCAA championship.
Oh my gosh!
Woo boy!
Oh my Morgantown! Oh, poor Morgantown.
Poor Morgantown. All right, so we're both in agreement then that the possibility for WVU is there. I mean, it's the glass slipper is on order on Amazon.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you. Yeah, they got a chance to put the madness in March Madness. They could. They definitely could do it. It showed last night. I mean, that Oklahoma team can beat anybody if the cards fall right for them. So it's a big win for West Virginia, and especially on the road. So
you want to talk about on the road? That perfect transition into our next topic. We are now in the national segment, so we'll put a wrap on the regional burrito here on the Breakfast Burrito on YSN. And my friend, not news that you like to hear, but Mr. Rob Gronkowski, while he was on the road, was I guess his house was broken into, things were taken, safes, weapons, things of that nature. I mean,
first of all, how does it happen? You know what I mean? Like, you're Rob Gronkowski, you make multiple $1 million a year. How in the world is somebody breaking into your house? First of all, it probably had to be somebody he knew, knew he was going to be gone, knew how to access his house. I mean, if I made Rob Gronkowski money, it would be so hard to get into my house when I'm not home. It'd be ridiculous. You'd have a better time getting into the White House. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I don't know if he didn't have a security system or like, it's like you said, if he didn't have, if it's somebody close to him, everybody in the world knew that there was going to be 53 players on one side, 53 players on the other, that were not going to be at their house. They were planning to be on a vacation in Minnesota, if you will, during that time period, that 2 weeks there. So why? I mean, we talked about it, was it yesterday, that Gronk doesn't spend any of his money, his NFL money. He spends it all, he only lives off endorsements. Get an endorsement with Brink Security, Rob.
Right.
Come on.
My goodness.
There's no better time than now. I mean, use some of that money to protect yourself, my friend. Like, people literally took, and here's the other thing. Where the hell do you live that people can take safes,
right?
Yeah. Like, where did you think you were going? Like, if you're a neighbor and you're standing at your window with your cup of coffee and you see somebody rolling out of Gronk's house with a safe and a bunch of guns, don't you think you'd press 911 or
on Super Bowl Sunday, you see people robbing Gronk's house. I mean, he's not home. Come on.
You're 7 deep in nachos.
Yeah.
And you're watching your I mean, obviously Rob Gronkowski, he's probably got a nice house. I don't know. I don't know this. But Gronk, get a freaking security system, my friend. Come on.
Scream it. You're right.
Oh,
it's ridiculous. When I read that, I just shook my head, because that's crazy.
Let me ask you this question. If you're Tom Brady, here's the other thing, and my wife brought this up. Why don't you have a house sitter? Like, you're going to be gone. Maybe he doesn't tell the mailman not to put the mail in his mailbox. But whenever we leave on vacation, first off, you don't put it on Facebook, which I guess if you're Rob Gronkowski, everybody knows you're going to be gone. But get somebody to watch your house. Like, get a buddy. Get somebody, like, have Mojo Rawley. He's not doing a whole lot in the WWE right now.
Right.
Have him watch your house for a week and say, hey, Mojo, you're a big enough dude. If somebody rolls in here, put him in a bulldog or a DDT him or something, or get him the hell out of here. Like, you think about this, Gronk. Like, just think. I don't know. Like, I guess sometimes we take it for granted because NFL people don't exactly have. I mean, they're catered to a lot. I mean, I don't know if you see this. And one thing that bothers me is you have people, you're literally paying water boys to squeeze the water bottle into the player's mouth because they can't do it anymore. Like, you can bench press 325 pounds, but you can't squeeze a Gatorade bottle into your mouth. Come on.
Spoiled.
Yeah.
If the whoever, whatever city he lived in, I know it was in Massachusetts somewhere where his house is at, but they'll probably find out that this was, an inside job, I would imagine, because it just floors me that he doesn't have security or security cameras, or, you make that much money. I mean, you'd want to protect your assets, so to speak, and your home, usually one of your biggest assets. And it just floors me that somebody broke into his house. And like you said, it's not like they stole his, his clothes and some jewelry. They took safes and guns. And I mean,
they're not looking for your Xbox, bro. They're not. They don't care.
Right.
They knew. Well, and that's the other thing. You might be right, because they knew where his safes were. They knew where his guns were, and it's not like they had an hour and a half to go, stroll around his house and take inventory. It's something I would assume. I'm not a police officer, and I'm not a thief, so I don't know this. But I would assume if you're going to rob somebody, you don't want to be in there that long. But I could be wrong. I have no idea. That's not my expertise. But,
that's crazy.
It's incredible. I saw that this morning. I thought we got to cover it, because I think everybody's kind of touching on it, but I don't think people are covering it, and definitely nobody wants to come out and say, "Hey, Gronk, you're an idiot." I mean,
hey, Gronk, you're an idiot. How about that? There you go.
Maybe you should retire, because then you can protect your house, and you don't have to get a security system, and you can hang out and play Xbox all day and cry about how you don't get enough, touches in the Super Bowl. Whatever, dude. Just protect your house. Protect, maybe you should be sponsored by Under Armour. Protect your house. So, okay, we got one topic left. We got a little bit of time to cover it, my friend. You and I are both diehard Pirate fans. A huge signing. I think it's a huge signing. ESPN's not really digging into it a whole lot. The New York Mets signed Todd Frazier to, I think, a 2-year deal. Not a whole lot of money on the table. Definitely something within the realm of possibility for the Pittsburgh Pirates, who do not have a whole lot of stability in the hot corner. What the hell are the Pirates waiting for?
I mean, I just think it's a total reset for the Pirates. I don't know. I mean, it's been a rough off season for Pirate fans. And I don't see it getting any better. I'm just shocked, really. I mean, I feel like they gave up maybe just a little too early on the team that they had in place. But we don't get paid the big bucks. We're not the GM. We're not the owner. But they got, like you said, they got to do something. And if they don't make some sort of move to try to, at least make this team competitive, I can see it actually. You're going to go back to empty ballpark in Pittsburgh this year, because I know a lot of fans. I mean, I know down this way we have a lot of diehard Pirate fans, and they're not happy. And I don't know how bad it will tail off into attendance, but come on, Pirates. I mean,
well, let's look at it. Let's look at this. So the opportunity is this: you lose your number one pitcher, you trade him away to the Astros, and they seem to like the haul that they got back, which is great. If you enjoy what you get, if you're trying to move it, and again, fans, us, we're not the guys that are making the decisions. We don't know. We only know what we see. These guys don't pass the eye test, but that's not the test that Neil Huntington in the front office are putting these guys through. I think we got a decent haul from the Astros. We got a guy with a lot of raw talent that could be our third baseman. We also have Cabrian Hayes, I think that's coming up in our system. So that I'm not saying go out and sign a Frazier, and for any, by any means. But what I'm saying is, you've got to have a face of the franchise. You have to make it at least look like you're trying. You have to make it so the fans are happy, and not happy, I guess content. Because as Pirates fans, we haven't really experienced happiness in so long, but we're content with making the playoffs. If you make the playoffs, then you can roll the dice and you can have a chance at it. Just like we just talked about with college basketball. Baseball has the most parity in its champions. And that's a fact. So
right.
If you're the Pirates, if you can be one of those small market teams, you've seen success in Cleveland. Obviously, they spend a little bit more money than the Pirates do. But if in a one-game playoff, your chances are every bit as good as somebody else's. Now, every time they get into those one-game playoffs, outside of the Cincinnati Reds, they are met with a complete buzzsaw of starting pitching. Year one, it was Bumgarner, and year two, it was from the Cubs, the Jake Arrieta. So, right. I mean, you can get by it, but I don't know. I just don't want to. I'm tired of seeing them roll out, these guys that are basically number 4 starters everywhere else outside of Garrett Cole. I'm tired of the, we can make, your trash into our treasure thing. And then, yes, our pitching coach did an amazing job for a couple years of taking guys that, their careers are in the twilights, and they're kind of sprinkling some dust on the magic that they had once before. But I think the soup recipe is out, my friend. I think that people realize that the Pirates, if you can get past this person, this person, this person, we're trash. We're just absolute trash. I mean,
so who right now do you feel with McCutchen in San Fran? Who do you feel the face that runs the place is in Pittsburgh? Who's the face of the franchise in Pittsburgh?
I think.
Or who do the Pirates, front office, who do they feel their face of the franchise is?
I think
I'll tell you mine.
Okay. There's a two-way approach here. So number one, I think if Marte doesn't get busted for or suspended last year for PEDs or whatever he was suspended for, he's the face of the franchise. Because that happened and because they don't want to mess around with it, I think that Josh Bell is your face of the franchise.
I'm with you on that. Yeah.
I think there's two keys to roll around with Bell. And I think that they spent so much money on this guy just to get him in a Pirate uniform, to get him drafted, that their eggs are in his basket. And with Marte's window closing too, I think he's got a year, maybe 2 years left on his contract. If they're not in contention by the Midsummer Classic, I think you can see Starling Marte be traded as well. So I think the ride, the roller coaster ride that the Pirate fans are on right now is not over. But I think I think they probably should have waited to get rid of Kutch until the All-Star break. But I think they're positioning themselves to get rid of Marte as well, if they're not in contention, which scares me, because that just tells me all this garbage that they're talking about. We're committed to winning this year. We're committed to competing. It's garbage, man. Like, you're not going out, and you don't need to sign, these stars of yesterday to huge contracts today. But let's make a move that makes sense. Like, we all know you're planning for 2019, 2020 right now. Just come out and say it. Just come out and say, hey, we're looking at a bridge opportunity here. We're setting ourselves up for positioning, and sell the guys for what they're worth. Andrew McCutchen was worth way more 5 months ago than he's worth 3 weeks ago. And going to San Fran and saying, hey, we'll take this guy and this guy because the chances of them getting to the big leagues in the first place and making an impact are slim and none, and Slim just left town.
Right. Yeah, that was sad to see Kutch go. I mean, I know that, his numbers have dipped over the past couple of years, but still, I mean, he's in the top, probably 15% of players in the major leagues as far as, hitting stats, etc. But yeah, it's he loved Pittsburgh. I don't know if you read the article. I think it was in the Pittsburgh Tribune that he wrote, or the Post Gazette, that basically a goodbye to the Pirate fans, and you could tell that his heart is in Pittsburgh. My God, he named his kid Steele, for crying out loud. So Steele McCutcheon. So yeah, sad to see Kutch go. Definitely the face of the franchise over the past how many years, and Pirates just, I don't know. I just, I guess it's worked for so long, even, over the past 3, 4, 5 years, we had a little bit of hope there with a couple big playoff appearances, with the one big win that you mentioned over Cincinnati, which the Russell Martin home run off Cueto is probably my favorite Pirate moment of all time. Goosebumps just down my spine for that moment. But, they've always just wanted to give free stuff away when you come to the ballpark and hope people show up and spend money on food. And hopefully they, this year they can put together some sort of hope, I guess, that leads, at least halfway or 3/4 of the way through the season. But I don't see it happening, this year for the Pirates. But yeah, it's disheartening, because I feel like last year, there was a lot of hope going into the season for the Pirates, and then the Marte issue, and then Jung Ho and his alcoholic mess overseas, and we just didn't get off to on the right foot, and a lot of negativity surrounded the Pirates last year in the beginning of the year, and they never just could rebound and put runs together, and it hurt. But I feel like they might have just gave up a little too early on the they're hitting the reset button a little soon, in my opinion, because I still think Kutch is viable. I do think Marte's going to come back and have a fine year. I mean, he's a stud baseball player. Polanco, he's got potential, but who knows?
That dude is a lost giraffe. Like, you ever see him field a ball? I mean, he's a giraffe. He just doesn't. He's almost like, he's just uncoordinated, and he's so raw, and it's, I guess, and I've talked to several people that are close to the club, but you want to talk about a team that is without a farm system. We got the talent. I just think that the development system is so not there for the Pirates, that all these other teams are able to, they're either drafting better than we are, or they are significantly better in the developmental process than the Pirates are. Because, I mean, you get Nick Kingham, you have who's the cat that the tall Tyler Glasnow. Yep. These guys are coming up, and it's almost like they're starstruck and they don't know what to do. They have, I guess, the terminology for the Pittsburgh Pirates has always been they're a quad A team. They're really, really good in the minor leagues, and like break all kinds of records, and they bring home championships. But when they hit the big leagues, they just don't compete. And Russell Martin was one of my favorite guys. I'm a huge catcher guy, just because that's the position I played. That's the position I follow.
Kind of look like Russell Martin a little bit.
Well, I guess I appreciate that. I've been compared to, I'm trying to think, Dan Ugla was the closest one I've ever been compared to. And if you get a picture of Dan Ugla, it's pretty close, and kind of close in stature too. So, but I mean, if you go on the Pirates.com right now, the number one headline for them, and it kind of bothers me, is that it says Bucks aim to be a surprise club in 18. That's the headline. That's what you're telling your fans. We're hoping to be a surprise, and we're hoping to win. But if we don't, we're right within where we figured we would be. That, and excuse my language, pisses me off. So what that tells me, and by the way, if you click over to the next, season tickets still on sale.
Now I bet.
you go from, oh, we're going to be a surprise team, come out and watch us, to, hey, come out and watch us. We want you to invest in this team. Sorry, man. I mean, they got it backwards.
Listen, I will get my tickets on SeatGeek for probably $8 after the first 2 weeks of the season. So, and I'll sit real close to the field too for about $8.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're pitching Starling Marte is their guy that they're building around. They got a picture of Starling, and they got a picture of Josh Bell. So it'll be interesting to see if the Pirates are able to do it. But, man, free agency still out there. They've got to make a move at some point. I saw that a few days ago. One of their players just got suspended for PEDs again. I think it was a left-handed pitcher in the farm system. But reality is they've got to get some real wrap on this. They've got to be able to put in a marketing strategy around a player. They got to pick one. Kutch was the face of the franchise. Garrett Cole. Who's your number one? Who's your pitcher right now in the Pirate system? In the entire Pirate system, who is your number one? If you got to go out and win one game, who is that guy?
Well, it's oh my gosh, the guy that was injured 2 years ago, then came back. What's his name? I'm drawing a blank right now. Help me out. It's not Glass now. It's the other guy, Jacob Taillon.
Oh, Jameson Taillon?
Jameson Taillon. Sorry, yeah, Jameson Taillon.
Yeah, yep. And even that's scary. I mean,
I know, but
he's got everything. He's got. I mean, let's realistically, he survived cancer. He overcame cancer. Which hats off to him for that, and we're really excited, and I'm really happy for him that he did that. And there's a special place in my heart for cancer, as there is everybody, because everybody's affected by it. But Jameson Taillon, he's been mediocre at best. He's not a 19, 20 game winner in my mind right now. I feel like we drafted him 37 years ago, and it took him forever to get to the league. Now, yeah, we did draft him as an 18-year-old. But reality is we catered to this guy. We put all our eggs in this basket. There was a lot of trades that he could have been involved in that could have made our team better during those playoff runs that they didn't pull the trigger on because they believed in him. Well, guess what? Now he's got to pay the tab. He's got to be able to bring it. And if he's our number one and we gave up Garrett Cole, and I'm not saying Garrett Cole is going to win us any championships, but Garrett Cole consistently came out and gave you solid start after solid start. Now, his home run issue, that's another thing to discuss. But Jameson Taillon, and then who?
Well, they got Ivan Nova, Trevor Williams, Taillon, Chad Cole, the dude from the Astros, Musgrove.
Is that a rotation that you can see winning the NFL?
No, absolutely not. That's the thing. Like, they could put together a little string and win games, but when it comes down to if they would sneak into a wild card by luck this year, it's going to be the same story because we don't have. You look historically at these teams that are winning the World Series. They have dominant pitching. Pitching wins.
Here's what the Pirates' strategy is, in my humble opinion, and this will be my last comment for today. The Pirates' strategy is hope and pray. And not even for yourself. Hope and pray that everybody else in the NL Central gets hurt. And that's what they've done the last couple of years. I mean, Wainwright went down either last year or 2 years ago. Arrieta had an off year last year. The Cubs are overcoming injuries. The Cardinals were just absolutely plagued with injuries last year. And obviously just misfortune from other teams. Guess what, though? The Brewers went out and they bought. They got a team. They have a team coming in that in PNC Park are going to tear up the Pirates. The Cubs are going to come in and beat the Pirates down. The Cincinnati Reds are getting better. We are going to be in the basement again if we're not careful, because if you're thinking we're going to compete with the Cardinals, I think the Cardinals come back in a big way this year. I think the Cardinals are the team to look out for because they are reloading while we are sitting there shuffling our cards saying, oh, what are we going to do with Kutch? What are we going to do with Cole? What are we going to do with this guy? Or can we put Marte on the market and get anything back for him? Listen, nutting. Spend money. Let Huntington spend a little bit of money because it'll go a long way. When you have guys in your locker room like J-Hay that want out of Pittsburgh, not because you traded his buddy, because he realizes that you're not contending. That is your locker room leader. That is the guy that's been around the Pirates the longest. And when they're looking at him for wisdom and encouragement, and they see things in the news on your website that say J-Hay wants out, that's a problem.
You're right. You are right. 100% right.
Anything else to wrap up? Sorry, I went on a tangent there, but
no, you're all right.
Man, it drives me nuts. It drives me wild. Like as someone who cares about my business, if I put out a poor product and expected that people buy it, and scratch my head and trying to understand why aren't they buying this? Why don't they understand? It's garbage. It's from top to bottom right now. It's hot garbage. It's a dumpster fire. It's whatever you want to say it. Pittsburgh Pirates, get your act together. That's all I got to say.
How many games do they win this year?
60, 65.
65.
I mean, I think they could be a 100-loss team. And I love the Pirates. I love them so much. Literally, I don't know if you can see it. My entire basement is painted. It's muraled as PNC Park. I love the Pirates so much. I love watching this team. I love coming home, turning on, what is it now, AT&T, Pittsburgh. I mean, I love hearing the announcers. I love the fact that Greg Brown is one of the best in the business. I love the fact when he gets excited, when Bob Walk gets excited, there's nothing like it. But there's nothing to get excited about. I mean, when this area, when the Pirates were winning, this area was incredible. I mean, the Pirates fans are some of the best fans in the world, and one of the most loyal outside of the Cleveland Brown fans. But unfortunately, the wins are so few and far between right now, man. And there's no light at the end of the tunnel. So unless you can bring something to my front door and say, hey, at least we have this, go Pens.
Go Steelers.
Go Steelers. That's a wrap on this edition of the Breakfast Burrito. We got a little hot and intense. Make sure that you subscribe to all our channels, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And make sure you hit up Tommy Pease on all those channels as well. I'm DJ Yoakley for Mr. Pease. That is a wrap on the Breakfast Burrito. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. right here on your sports network. Take care, everybody.